everyone. Thank you for being here today. I am Carrie Friedberg, the SF Money Coach. I'm a personal finance and small business coach, financial behavior specialist, and financial literacy educator. I recently launched a do-it-yourself personal finance online course with 25 mini lessons on the practical and emotional sides of money, and a bonus membership site at no additional cost where you can learn, practice, connect, and receive support for an entire year. The course is on sale right now. You can find out more information at sfmoneycoach.com/membership. We are here today to please join me in welcoming our guest, Babara Huson. She is a financial therapist, 7-time best-selling author on women and finance, and a wealth coach. She has a background in business, many years as a journalist, a master's degree in counseling psychology, extensive research, and personal experience with money that all give her a unique perspective and make her one of the foremost experts on empowering women to live up to their financial and personal potential. Babara has been featured on Good Morning America, The View, Extra, The O'Reilly Report, and many, many times on CNN, MSNBC, CNNBC, Fox News, PBS, NPR, as well as the New York Times, USA Today, and more. She's a total rock star. Babara and I met when I was living in New York City through our dear mutual friend, Michelle. I remember a particular lunch the three of us had where we sat outside on, at a sidewalk cafe in that amazing city. We laughed and started planning our collaboration for financially empowering women together. So began a wonderful friendship and working relationship. And I am excited and honored to have her here for my very first SF Money Coach live Q&A to talk about nothing else except for wealth building. Welcome, Babara.
Thank you, Carrie. Congratulations. This is your first one. I'm excited.
Yay! I know. I'm so excited too. So if questions come up for our listeners during our conversation, feel free to type them into the chat or jot them down. We will reserve time at the end to hear from you. So Babara, to start things off, please share with us a little bit about your background and family history around money.
Yes, so I grew up in a wealthy family. My father was the R of H&R Block. And the only advice he ever gave me about money was, don't worry, which I thought was great advice. I didn't understand money. I just wanted to spend it. And there was always a man. I mean, under those words, don't worry, was the unspoken assumption there'll always be a man to take care of you, which I thought was great too. And there was always a man. There was my father. And then I married a man who was a stockbroker. So he was perfect.
Right.
But what I found very early in my marriage is he was a compulsive gambler.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of our 15-year marriage, I continued to let him manage the money because that's how terrified I was and intimidated by anything financial. Finally, after our divorce, 15 years, I decided money's not my deal. Money's not my thing. I don't want to deal with money. Well, I have this theory that if you don't deal with money, your money will deal with you. And I got tax bills for over $1 million back taxes my ex didn't pay for illegal deals he got us in. My signature was on everything. My ex had left the country. Yeah. I did not have anywhere close to $1 million. My ex had lost it all. He was a compulsive gambler.
Yes.
And my father wouldn't lend me the money.
Right.
I had three daughters. I was not going to raise those girls on the street. That's when I knew I had to get smart. And I swear to God, I took classes, I read books, I did all the things you're supposed to do, and my eyes would glaze over, my brain would fog up. I just couldn't get it. But I was committed. I was absolutely committed. And I really do believe, Carrie, that when you have a commitment, like a down to your toes, no back door, the universe revolves to help you meet your goal. And I was a journalist writing for the San Francisco Business Times. Mm-hmm. And I got hired for a writing project to interview women who were smart with money. And those interviews changed my life. They changed my life. I not only got smart about money, But I wrote my first book, Prince Charming Isn't Coming, How Women Get Smart About Money. And now, 7 books later, here I am, a financial therapist, a wealth coach, an
Right.
author,
I know.
and talking to Carrie
I love
Friedberg.
it.
I mean, come on.
I know. Oh my gosh. What an amazing gift and surprise that came out of the struggle, you
Oh
know?
my God.
It just kind of, this path opened up for you. It was the most unexpected thing.
I do, but looking back, I really believe that I was born into this family. I married this man because this was mine to do. This is what I was here born to do.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. You found your purpose. You're living it. Going back even deeper in time, would you share with us one of your earliest memories about money? And do you think this experience had a lasting impact?
It's interesting, extremely lasting impact. Alfred Adler, he was a student of Freud, broke from Freud, found a school of psychology called individual psychology.
Hmm.
And he talked about our earliest memory as one of the most important pieces of information, because
Right.
our earliest memory of all the memories we could pick, the fact that we picked that one says that has had a profound influence on our life. And I think back to when I studied Adler, and I remember in in psychology class in high school, and I remember him saying, "What is your earliest memory?" And my earliest memory of money is I am must be 3 or 4 years old. I'm standing on a step stool in front of the sink and I'm brushing my teeth, and
Hmm.
my mom is next to me. And I remember this. There's a pink sink. And I take my toothbrush out and I turn to her and I say, "How much money do you have, mommy?" And those random questions that
Yes.
kids ask. And I just remember that she gave me this. She didn't say a word, but she gave me this look. And this look said so clearly, "You do not talk about money, and you're bad if you do."
Oh, wow.
And that one memory,
Hmm.
which was completely lost till I was in high school, but it reminded me that that would, no matter what I was going through with my gambling husband, I was in therapy 3 times a week. I never told my parents. I never told anybody what was going
Right.
on. I
Hmm.
never talked about money.
Wow. Okay. So yes, it did have a clear and obvious, 20, 30-year lasting impact. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing that with me. My earliest memory is the texture and smell of rolling coins for my dad. So he would send me on a hunt around the house to gather coins, literally from between the couch cushions, scavenge through the kitchen junk drawer. I don't know where else I got it. Maybe even my own piggy bank, and then I would dutifully sit on the rug in his room with my parents' room, and he gave me those old paper coins, and I would roll them up, and I remember giving it to him. I remember not, it wasn't for me. It wasn't to keep it
So
for me.
what? So what do you think? What do you think was the decision you made about yourself or money in that moment?
I've never thought about this before. I think that money is for men.
And that, can you see how that decision might have affected you?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Oh,
it's not just the memory, it's the decision we made about ourselves or money or life in that moment that happened.
yeah.
And then we forgot we made it, but that decision has determined our behavior for years and years and years to follow.
Exactly. I played it out for a long, long time, and I also nearly married a guy with a money disorder. It was compulsive shopping and chronic debting, and it was really, really intense and overwhelming. And I had so
Mhm.
much. I kept it inside for a long time, shame, and to protect him and to protect myself, and in a therapy session it all fell apart. I mean, I literally spent that night crying, bawling myself to sleep in my own room. I just had to, I just like I got woken up.
Did,
um
Do you think this had anything to do with you becoming a money coach?
It definitely did. It would, you know, coincidentally, in that relationship, I had started looking at my own money. This person had his own money coach. Hi, Tina, welcome. And I had hired my own because I thought, oh, geez, well, if he's engaged with a money coach, maybe that's a good idea. So it was a suggestion of a boyfriend at the time, and I literally needed to learn the ABCs and one, two, threes, and this person helped me. So I was starting to learn some things, which informed looking at his behavior with fresh lenses, thinking, this doesn't really add up. The credit card I've given him to use for quote business expenses isn't getting paid off with the reimbursements every month. And it was a lot of uncomfortable feelings and denial, so much denial, sweeping it under the rug. No one's perfect. All the self-talk to
Oh,
stay in
yeah.
the relationship and stick with it. Yeah. So yes, and then someone else did for me what I couldn't do for myself. This therapist called me out and said, "Did you ever think you are part of the problem? You're enabling him."
Mhm.
I was floored. I felt energetically like pinned to the wall. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. I was woken up. I was snapped out of it. I was I was appalled with myself. I mean, in a good way. What? She held the mirror right there. So, um, anyway, yes, I am grateful to that man and that relationship for helping me get on the path and learn and practice and receive support so that I could eventually, offer skills and accountability and education and empowerment to other people.
Yes, and I
So,
think that's what makes you a particularly good coach, is
thanks.
because you had that sensitivity of having
Yes.
been there,
Oh, yeah. Oh, my
and
gosh.
the courage to have gotten out of it, and the
Thank
understanding how that process works.
Yes, exactly. And, our relationship with money is never created overnight. So, I mean, it took 6 months to exit that relationship, even though I had many intuitive hits over the years that, like, this might not last or be the one or the person I'm supposed to make a family with. So tell me how you got started helping women. I mean, in terms of leaving really your journalist career and embarking on being a personal finance expert.
Oh my gosh. How did I do that? Oh, yeah, I remember. Okay, so it's when I was hired for this project to interview women who were smart with money, me not knowing anything and in a ton of problem myself with money. And it was those interviews. And that's what changed me, where I became smart about money.
Mm-hmm.
And then the weirdest thing happened out of the blue. So I'm a journalist, right? Out of the blue. And I never wrote anything about money, never wrote anything about my own personal story. Out of the blue, this woman calls from JFK University in the East Bay in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they were doing a conference. And she said, "We would like you to speak at the conference on money."
Oh, wow.
And I thought, where the hell did that come from? I said, "Why do you want me?" Because I was a business journalist.
Right.
And she said, "Someone recommended you." I have no idea who recommended me. But I went, I spoke at that conference, and out of that speaking and out of those interviews,
Right.
I wrote that book called Prince Charming Isn't Coming. And that
Yes.
started me on this whole new career.
Amazing.
But here's the thing. So I was traveling all around doing financial education for women,
Mm-hmm.
speaking all over the country, but I couldn't make money. I no matter how hard I worked, and you can ask my children, I was never home.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided I was going to interview women who made lots of money,
Right.
and that would be my next book. And I want to tell you, I interviewed 154 women who made 6 figures or more. And I started making six figures before I even finished writing that book, Secrets of Six-Figure Women. And then my career just took off.
Wow. Oh my gosh, amazing. And so you really focus on empowering women. Why do you think women have so much difficulty making or managing money?
Well, part of it, I think, is evolutionary. From the beginning of time, men were the hunter-gatherers and we were the nurturers, and we stayed home. And it was a smart division of labor at the time, but
Right.
the change, and we don't need that. So I think that's part of it. I think a big part of it. I think I realized this long ago when I started interviewing women who are smart with money. I believe that women's difficulties with money has very little to do with money per se, and everything to do with our fear of or ambivalence about power.
Okay.
Because I believe that we don't understand power from a feminine perspective. Because money does not give us power. I mean, I had the money in my first marriage, but he had the power because I gave it to him, because I let him make all the decisions. My definition of a powerful woman is someone who knows who she is, who knows what she wants, and expresses that in the world unapologetically. So essentially, our fear of power is our fear of becoming fully who we were born to be, fully who we are intended to be. And instead, we'll water ourselves down so we don't make waves.
Right.
And what we need to step into our power, to become a container that can attract, that can keep, that can grow our wealth.
And
So I always say problems with money are really never about money. They're always something deeper, and it's almost always about our power or how we're giving it away.
and I've heard you share before also, you're acknowledging, well, we're cave people essentially, but we haven't had, society hasn't, well, there hasn't been an upgrade in our operating system. So we're still cave people essentially, but in modern times. And also for women biologically, as the ones who, took care of the babies or cooked the food and nested in the home while the men hunted and gathered. Do you think that women are also fearful of, like you said, being aligned with their purpose and giving their gifts and being in the world unapologetically because of how women have been treated over time, like burned at the stakes? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I really believe it is part of our collective unconscious that we have been horribly punished. There have been severe consequences for us taking our power. And that is a big issue today. And I think that financial education does not address this at all. Financial education, traditional financial education, which is very white, male oriented, does not address the fear and the trauma and the terror we have over the danger involved in becoming and stepping into our power.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I always tell clients when they come in and they're saying, oh, I have a life coach or a therapist, or I attend this 12-step group. Great. Because money is going to kick things up. I'm not laughing, at them. I'm just saying, oh, that's wonderful that you're a process-oriented person and that you're aware, that you may need support for a time. And something I learned from you, Barbara, is that, change is not always comfortable, but those uncomfortable feelings do not indicate that something bad or wrong is happening. It's just change.
Right. Right.
So yes, the more support we can have at various times in our life, it's something I talk with people a lot about, different financial support team members. It sounds like now you need this person, and helping them build that team so that they can walk forth into the life as a financially confident person.
Yeah, it's interesting because the women I've interviewed over the years, thousands of them, the ones who have the highest net worth were not necessarily the ones who made the most money or married it or inherited it. They were the ones that worked with a team. They were the ones that worked with professionals. They're the ones that had the financial advisor, the estate planner, the bookkeeper, the CPA. I think that's really important, that we need our teams, we need our support.
Yes. Good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you agree. And mentors as well. I mean, you've been a mentor for me now for the last 11 years, and
Well,
I
you've kind of outgrown my mentoring, Carrie, but that was in history. Yes.
but I still share about you and your work and your books and courses, as one of my favorite and most highly recommended resources for other people, because I want people to have additional support and additional options, and that's great. So let's talk about one of the other lessons I learned from you, that I want you to share, which is about the 3 levels of financial development. What are they again?
So there are 3 levels of financial development. There's survival, there's stability, and there's affluence. Survival is not enough, stability is just enough, and affluence is more than enough. To go from survival to stability, you must have a profit motive. Money's a good thing. You love money. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So many people who are in survival are very ambivalent about money, or they don't like it, or the people that have it. So you need to have a profit motive to become financially stable.
Okay.
In order to go from stability to affluence, profit is no longer the primary goal. It is an intended outcome. You definitely have a profit motive. You definitely want to make money. It is ingrained in you at this point. But the primary goal is no longer profit. The primary goal is greatness. And I define greatness, paraphrasing a quote by Fred Buchner. Greatness is that place where your deep gladness, doing what you were put on this earth to do, meets the world's deep hunger.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Yes. And I mean, what are some signposts of stability? How do people know when they've really moved beyond the survival phase?
Well, I think when money ceases to be a source of stress and distraction and pain,
Uh-huh.
and becomes a tool for
Okay.
carving out your best life,
Right.
I think that is a sign that you have gone past survival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Thomas Stanley, who wrote Millionaire Next Door, he said that wealth is not about dollars in the bank account or your actual net worth, but it's about the gap between your lifestyle and spending and how much money you have. In other words, very wealthy people don't necessarily spend the way we assume they spend. It's about how much you accumulate.
To me, wealth is not, I agree, but wealth is not an amount.
Mm-hmm.
Because you ask anybody if they're wealthy, how much they would need to feel wealthy. They'll say twice what they have. That's what studies show. They'll say twice.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Not an amount. To me, my definition of wealth is when you have more than enough and you know it. You have more than enough to meet your needs. You have emergency savings. You have money that's growing faster than inflation.
Mm-hmm.
You have more than enough, and you know it, because
Right.
you and I both know people worth millions who feel financially insecure.
Right.
And I know people who are worth much less, but who feel bountiful.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it is definitely when you have more than enough, which is all relative, and you know it.
Okay, got it. And so for people in survival mode, I see a pattern that there's often under earning for one or more adult in the family. How do you define under earning?
An under-earner is anyone who earns less than she needs or desires, despite her efforts to do otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
You can make 6 figures and still be an under-earner.
Right.
And you can make far less and not be.
Right.
I have three daughters. One's a stay-at-home mom, but one owns a movie theater with her husband, and the other is a farmer. Neither one of them make a lot of money, but they're not under earners because they're doing what they love and it feeds their soul. They have enough to meet their needs. An under earning is never feeds your soul. It is always a condition of deprivation, and not just of time, but of joy, of freedom, of choices, and most of all, of self-esteem.
Okay. And why are so many women in particular under earners? I mean, men can under earn as well, but what's up with that?
Well, there's probably many reasons, but my belief is it all boils down to three. One, we tend to give away our time, our knowledge, our skills for free or bargain prices because we don't believe we are worth more.
Right.
So who do I think I am?
Yeah.
And and the second reason is we are notoriously codependent. We put everybody else's needs before our own, and not just our families or our friends, but perfect strangers.
Yes.
But ask us to put ourselves first, and we'll go, oh, no. And that brings me to the third, and I think the primary reason so many women are under earners is because we don't want to be uncomfortable. And the number one requirement for going to the next level in anything, whether it's making more money or losing more weight, is always the willingness to be uncomfortable, the willingness to do what you don't think you can do, the willingness to do what you fear and to do it anyway.
Isn't that true? I'm experiencing that right now because I just launched my course and membership site a few weeks ago. So I basically, in that area of my professional life, kind of feel like learning how to walk. I'm, relying on my support team, like the parents clapping. You can do it across the room. Not my parents, but you get the metaphor. And yes, I am feeling the uncomfortable feelings right now because I'm trying something new and I've taken myself to another level, and I'm upping my earnings. That's what's happening, and this is how it feels.
That is great. That is so great for you to be able to say that too, Carrie. That is awesome, because that's exactly what it feels like. I have never met a successful woman who every time she didn't jump into something new, say the exact same thing you did.
Right.
The exact same thing. And it's like one woman quoted I forget who it was, Ray Bradbury. She said, I just jump off the cliff and build my wings on the way down.
Right.
And that's really what success looks like.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to reconnect with my younger self 11 years ago, not teaching, but offering my first coaching appointment to a client who was paying me money at my kitchen table. Like, I need to remember what it looked like and felt like when I started that chapter, which was a leap from being a classroom teacher. And I made a choice to try something new and up my level of earning by after training and becoming certified, offering coaching sessions. So yeah, it's been really interesting.
Years ago, I took out a piece of paper and I realized all these women that I was interviewing when I was an under earner, they all would engaged in what I called the stretch. They had what I called a high earner slogan. Whenever they were given an opportunity or had an idea, they would say, if it's not illegal or immoral, I just say yes. So I took out a piece of computer paper and I wrote, and I'm looking at it now, and I said, do what you fear. That's how you succeed. I wrote it in red crayon.
Oh boy.
I framed it. I put it, and it's still sitting 10, 15 years later. It's sitting right across from my desk, and I see it every day, because that's really do what I fear.
I have a version of that. I should frame this. It says, be brave, soul work.
Be brave. Well, yes. And because you're brave, Carrie, you are helping so many people with this new product.
Yeah.
So many people.
Thanks. So tell me the difference between how men and women process financial information.
So this has been fascinating for me to learn. And it has to do with my new book that just came out in January. It's called Rewire for Wealth.
Yay!
And so I remember, I don't know, I was 6-7 years ago, I was looking at my email, and there was an article on neuroscience.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew nothing about neuroscience, and I started reading it, and I got fascinated by it. And one of the things I started learning as I started studying the brain and the brain on money is that women and men process financial information differently. And the thing I think that struck me most that I learned is that when it comes to investing, men see the market as a challenge and it's exciting. Women see the market as a threat and we hold back. And I thought that was fascinating because our brains are designed, we're created with one reason, for one reason only, and that is our survival, to keep us safe. So what happens when women look at investing and they see threat, their thinking brain shuts down, they go into fight, flight, and freeze.
Right.
And I thought, wow, if including neuroscience into my work can help expedite the learning curve and really deactivate that fear response that is often so strong in women when it comes to wealth building and investing.
Right.
And it has been, so I've been working on this for the past 6 years, and it has been incredible because we have to understand that our behavior, everything we do is controlled by our brain. The choices we make are controlled by our brain, and our brain has been wired by all our past experiences. So the brain controls everything we do. And if we want to change our behavior, we need to change the way our brain's wired. But the way our brain is wired is by the mind. The mind, which is not a physical organ, but the source of thoughts and feelings. It is what flows through the mind that programs our brain. And when you understand how the mind and the brain work together, you can change our behavior so much more quickly.
Has your own behavior changed as a result of this research?
Oh my God, so much.
What did you learn?
Shit. Oh, excuse me. Okay, but we only have Tina on here. So Tina, I don't know if we can do this, but I would love for Tina to join our conversation too.
Sure, yes.
Because you just seem, I loved watching your face. You seem very responsive. And I thought I would like to hear from Tina.
Oh, Carrie has been an amazing help for me over the last, how many years has it been, Carrie? Like 4?
Yes.
About 4 years? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, Carrie's
book when I first started working with her, and I feel like this is a journey. I have become much more comfortable with money. I'm not quite where I want to be, but it's baby steps. And what you were saying about women in power is so true for me and for a number of my friends.
Yes, and for me too. Yes, 100%.
It's reinforced in the culture.
Yes. It's reinforced. And that's part of, you asked if the rewiring has changed me.
Right.
Because I realize, I've been very clear that the culture, the patriarchy is very much shaped.
Yes.
My fear response and my action. And so very much of understanding neuroscience, I've been able to change my reactions, to change my responses, to squash my fear response. So I feel like I've gotten a lot more courage.
So how did you go about doing that? Did you just sort of start tracking your responses and sort of walking it back and knowing?
So let me tell you, I'm so glad you asked, Tina. I would love to tell you. So I just started, it took me years, but I started studying and I started really applying it to my life and applying it to my clients. And I boiled it down, this whole process of training your mind to rewire your brain, to 3 steps. 3 steps that I do all the time. And these 3 steps are so damn simple, but take so much effort in the beginning, because those hardwired neural pathways do not want to give in. They do not want to give in.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you the 3 steps. I mean, it would help if you could think of some place in your life that you want to change, something you want to change, some behavior you want to change, something you'd like to do differently, but you just can't.
Yeah.
So here's the 3 steps. The 3 steps, and then I'll explain them briefly, and then we can see if we can apply them. The 3 steps are recognize, reframe, and respond differently.
Mhm.
Recognize means recognize or observe the negative, unhealthy, maladaptive thought that you are having. Recognize the thought, oh, there's never enough,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not enough.
Right. All
Or-
that scarcity thinking.
Yeah, the scarcity, whatever that thought or the feeling. For me, sometimes the thought I have that I noticed that I really worked on reprogramming is I don't have what it takes. And I know exactly where that came from. So I don't have what it takes, or I'm stupid. You recognize the thought, but you recognize it in a certain way. You recognize it with curiosity, and then you separate yourself from it. So, oh, isn't that interesting? That's a curiosity. Isn't that interesting? I'm having a thought that I don't have what it takes.
Right.
Oh, isn't that interesting? I'm having a thought. There's
Mhm.
never enough. So instead of saying, isn't that interesting? I don't have what it takes. You put in, I am having a thought about, because that's all it is. It's a thought. It's
Right.
not a true. It's you're having a thought about.
Right.
And it's just been probably a thought that you've had many, many times. It's been so wired in your brain, it's automatic.
Mhm.
So the first thing is recognize it with curiosity. Oh, isn't that interesting? I'm having a thought that I don't have what it takes. The second step is reframe it. That means there's a line in A Course in Miracles that says, how can I see this differently? Above all, I want to see this differently. So really, everything we think is really our interpretation. So it's really a matter of changing your interpretation of the situation.
Mhm.
So I recognized that I was having a thought, I don't have what it takes. So I thought, how can I reframe that? How can I see it differently? And the idea is you see it through the eyes of love, the situation, instead of through the eyes of fear. And so I started playing around with how can I reframe that? And I thought, I can handle this. I can handle this. In fact, you have your little thing. I wrote it down on mine, not nearly so sweet and nice as yours, but I can handle this. And I keep it by my computer all the time. And so what you do is you recognize it, you reframe it into something more positive, something you want that reflects a desire. And you don't have to believe it. It doesn't matter if you believe it. But if you repeat it often enough, oh, I can handle this. I can handle this. If you repeat it often enough, it becomes like every other belief, a belief.
Belief.
Mhm.
Patterning.
So you repeat it over and over. I can handle this. And then the third step is you respond differently. So I'll give you an example. You do something that is not natural for you to do. You do something that you don't really want to do. You do what you're scared to do. You would do something that you just. So my team gave me a project while I was working on my book
Mhm.
to just do this project that I'd never done before. And I didn't think I could do it. And I told them I couldn't do it. And they really talked me into doing it. And so the thought that was going through my head the whole time is I don't have what it takes. And it wasn't just a thought. It was like I had this sinking feeling like I can't do this.
Deep belief.
So I reframed it. I can handle this. I can handle this. And then instead of saying no, which is what I wanted to do, I said, okay, I'll do it. And instead of procrastinating, I made myself sit down and write the outline to this. And then I made myself write the script. And then I kept making myself respond differently than felt comfortable. And within a few weeks, I was having fun. It was like, what? And then the project went great.
Mhm.
So that is you recognize, you reframe, and you respond differently over and over and over again. Because the key to reprogramming your brain is just 2 things. It's what you focus your attention on and the repetition in which you do it. Does that help, Tina?
Yes, but and isn't there like at a certain, there's like a tipping point in the repatterning or the rewiring?
There probably is. There's a tipping point, but I don't understand the tipping point, and I haven't yet read anything about people who understand the tipping point. It can take anywhere between 7 days to, or I've had people say an hour to weeks and months. But the important thing is you don't notice it till afterwards.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow, I'm not in scarcity. Wow, I'm not overspending.
Mhm.
Wow, I'm not procrastinating. You kind of notice it afterwards.
Right. Right. No, it's very helpful. I'm working on several different behaviors of my own, both in terms of money and in terms of other things.
Oh, there's always more than one, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Barbara, I have some questions from people who wrote in who couldn't attend today. And I love everything that you just said. And I think there's a mystery about the brain. Like you're saying, we don't realize we've recovered from something, or that a real behavior or thought pattern has changed until after the fact. It's probably like the tipping point. How do you define it? How do you catch it? We want to control that, but I think it's unique to every person with each challenge or attempt at rewiring.
Yeah, I mean, and they're just really, I don't see why we need to capture it or challenge it. I mean, just flow with it, and you'll notice, just flow with it, and you'll notice, God damn, that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not as scared.
It is more in the realm of the unknown and spirituality, in the surrender and go with the flow, rather than, wanting to bottle up water from the fountain of youth, or so. Anyway, so a couple people who have recently purchased my course and have started doing it, they've noticed that they feel grumpy. 2 different people spoke up, and they were chatting on our membership Facebook group. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I do. So that's their ego, because what it is it's their fear response. We have in our brain, there is the fear center in our brain that is what is activated whenever we feel there's a threat to our safety. And what happens is it says, that fear center says, no, don't go there, it's dangerous. And that fear center deactivates our rational brain.
Okay.
And what happens, my guess is that people are feeling grumpy because they're scared. They're really scared. And it'd be interesting to ask these people, what are you scared of? What will happen when you change? What will happen when you get your finances together? What are you most scared of?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is such a typical fear response.
Right.
To get grumpy, it's resistance.
Right.
And that's all it is. It's only resistance. Resistance is natural. It's normal. It's inevitable whenever you go to change. And in resistance is actually a good sign. So their grumpiness is a good sign, because it's a sign they're changing. They're actually on the path. It's scaring the hell out of them because they're going into the unknown.
Yes.
And they might have had something that traumatized themselves had earlier trauma in their family that had around money. Mm-hmm. And so you could have them look at that.
I see.
Because there's something that's scaring them.
Okay.
And there is a payoff, and find the payoff for staying where they're at, because there is a payoff. They might not like it. They may not want it, but there is a payoff.
Yeah. In staying stuck, or not looking at something, or growing, or like you said,
or not taking charge of their money.
Right.
There is a payoff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a safety of sorts.
Yes. Okay. Another question. How can my wife and I build wealth when every year we earn more, we have to pay more taxes? It seems like a never-ending cycle. Help.
Save more money. If you're earning more, you take out more in savings and open up a savings account just for your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So you save more money. What happens is people, they did some research at Cornell, and they found that the part of the brain that responds to earnings is much stronger than the part that responds to savings. That earnings is much more attractive for our brain, and that savings is not, because savings in our primitive brain feels like deprivation or scarcity.
Right.
And so what happens when people earn more money, and they're much more driven to earn money, is that they spend more, because
Yes.
it reinforces their abundance, but it actually sabotages their abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So this man just needs to learn to save he and his wife need to learn to save for their taxes.
Okay. Got it. And do you have any advice for couples who may have different spending or saving styles?
Oh, we just had I have a membership community, an on-site online community, and we just had the most beautiful discussion. There were like, I don't know, 30, 40 women on there. And one person asked, what do you do because my husband loves to spend and I don't,
Right.
I'm a saver. And yeah, there were all these practical things, but really what came out of that discussion for me was, you can use this to bring you closer. You can use this discussion, and how important it is to not just tell the other partner what you want, but to listen to them, to ask them why they're doing what they're doing, to really understand why they have the style they have.
Right.
And in those conversations, you can go deep into really what's going on with them internally. And it is the discussion and the compassion and the understanding, and then coming to some kind of agreement, maybe with a third party like yourself, like a coach.
Yeah.
But let it prompt a very deep and intimate and open discussion
Uh-huh.
around money, around styles, and why they are the way they are.
Okay, I love it. And what would you advise, or what money principles would you offer or suggest to, say, a 50-year-old adult who has ignored money their entire life?
Well, I don't care if they're 50 or 20. I would say the same thing.
Right. Okay.
It starts slow, start small. I would give them 3 steps. This is what I did. That's what I had my mom do. And if you do because so much of getting smart or smarter about money is just it's small steps. It's small steps consistently taking. So you do these 3 steps for like 3 or 4 months, and you'll be amazed. Every day, read something about money.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just a minute or 2. Even if it's just perusing the headlines of the business section of the paper, even if it's just you're standing in line at the supermarket and you pick up Money magazine instead of People and you peruse it, even if it's before you go to bed at night, you take a finance book, you open it and you read a paragraph.
Right.
Just familiarizing ourselves with the jargon and the current trends. So every day, read something about money, just for a minute or 2. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Every week, have a conversation about money, preferably with someone that knows more than you. I think it's our secrecy and silence that keeps us stuck. And this is what I did. I started, anybody I met who knew anything, I'd say, can I pick your brain?
Right.
Can we have tea? Can I give you a call? And I would just ask questions. How did you get smart? What mistakes did you make? What's the best advice you ever got? What would you recommend for me? Just ask them their story, and people really love to talk. So every day, read, every week, talk, and every month, save. Automatically have money transferred from your savings account, from your checking account to a savings account. And when you have your emergency fund saved, you automatically invest in your retirement account, or that's maxed out outside your retirement account. So every day, read, every week, talk, every month, save. Try those 3, you'll be amazed.
I totally love it. Yes. Yeah. Emergency savings, and how I call it in my course, and clients know this as well, safety net, 6 to 12 months of living expenses, specifically and only in case of an interruption of income. Yes, that's the one. It's a real game changer. And it can take some time to build it up, and that's okay too, but I'm a big believer in build it and it will come. Just open the account, $25 a month, $100 a paycheck, anything that you can start the flow going in that direction, and it will build up over time.
I remember my editor of my very first book, Prince Charming Isn't Coming. This was in 1990 something. Anyway, so she started. So she realized, she started understanding the value of savings as we were talking. She was working on my book. So she kept saying, I have no money to save. So
Right.
what she'd do is she'd empty her billfold at the end of the night, and she'd put it in a jar, and then she'd take that to a bank. And by the time my book came out and it was out for a while, she had invested that money in her retirement account, and it was growing. And she said to me, I mean, I was so excited for her, but then she said, and this is why we do it.
Right.
She said, I have to tell you, Barbara, I feel so powerful.
Mm.
And I feel that is why we get smart about money. Yeah, we want the financial security. Absolutely. We want that. But really, it's how powerful you feel when you take charge of your money. Because when you take charge of your money, you are taking charge of your life.
I love it. Yay.
It begins to
So-
feel like a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
What?
It begins to feel like a spiritual practice, at least for me.
It is a spiritual practice for me.
For
Very,
me
very
too.
much.
Yes.
One of the things, talking about savings, one of the things that I started doing, and I don't remember where I heard about this, but back when I was spending cash, I saved $5 bills. And I just, like, if I got one and change, I would put it, and, in a couple of months I had like $300, and it was a small step, but it actually gave me a sense of empowerment.
No, that is brilliant, Tina. It is those small steps. It is those small amounts that
Right.
add up far quicker than we can imagine.
Yes.
So that's the best way to do it. Start small.
Mhm.
I love
Genius.
that.
It's very helpful.
So someone else wrote in, they're dying to know where you, Barbara, go for great content about managing personal finances. They don't love reading books, but mention them if you must. They're wondering about blogs, podcasts, TV shows, and even personalities to follow.
I don't listen to podcasts, but there's probably a lot of great podcasts. Tina, where do you go?
Jean Chatzky has a podcast.
Oh,
A couple of times. I don't do it a lot, but I have listened to it a couple of times.
Jean
Mhm.
Chatzky also has a newsletter.
Oh,
It's
that's
really good.
okay.
Her Money. So subscribe to Her Money. She
Yes.
doesn't like to read. So yeah, Jean Chatzky has a podcast. Ask your friends. Ask friends what's a good podcast. Be careful of the news. Be careful of finance programs, because hype sells and bad news sells. And
Right.
I don't know. I kind of don't like that.
Yeah.
My biggest source of information is talking to people smarter than me,
Mhm.
and I learned so much from them.
You're totally right. It's the coffee and lunch fund. It's a line item on your spending plan. Yes, to invite someone out and ask them a lot of questions. I did so much of that, and I continue to do it. Okay, great. Let me see. I'm just looking at my notes. We're gonna wrap up soon. Do you have any last questions for Barbara, or anything you wanted to ask her?
No, I'm just really looking forward to reading your new book.
Oh, good.
You.
I'm going to call up the bookstore in town and order it right after we get off the phone.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I hope you like it. Let me know.
I will. And I'm in my work with Carrie, I've known friends of mine who would then come to me and ask me questions. And so it's increased my confidence. And what I know almost across the board is their fear. Their fear of, like, oh, I can't afford to talk to Carrie. I can't afford to do this. Or they just go blank. I said, anytime I'll sit down and let you know what I know and give you my resources. And, they put like
That's
their toe
great.
in the water and then they withdraw it. And
That is so primal. That is so primal in us, because we are so scared of change.
we are.
We are so scared. So Tina and everyone else congratulations on getting past that fear.
Yes.
You did it.
Yes.
And I think you sharing what you've learned, because nobody learns more than the teacher. That's what I always say, is as soon as I get this, I'm out of here. But there's always more to learn from me.
Right.
So I think it's wonderful that you're sharing what you're learning.
Mhm.
But yeah, little steps at a time, for sure.
Yeah, but that's more than a little step, what you're doing. Really sharing and encouraging and mentoring these others. That's big. That's really big.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
So Barbara, did I hear you have an upcoming course?
I do, but it's not out yet, so I'm not going to say it yet.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. And if our listeners want to know more about you and what you do, how can they find you?
My website's the best way. It's Babara Huson HUSON.com.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Barbara, thank you so much for being here. This was really fun, and I've loved reconnecting with you in this way.
I love reconnecting, and congratulations, you did it. Your first one.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And I was on your first, so I am very honored to be your first guest. Thank you.
Aw, I know.
And Tina, thank you so much for joining in.
And Carrie, congratulations. And I'm looking forward to more of these. And
Good.
your launch.
Yes, every month. So stay tuned about that. And with this, we're out of time. Thank you again for tuning in. And please acknowledge yourself for taking the time to learn, practice, connect, and receive support. I am Carrie Friedberg, the SF Money Coach. You can find me at sfmoneycoach.com, and be sure to look for limited time only early bird pricing on my Personal Finance 101 course right now, which includes a free membership site that you have access to for an entire year. You can also sign up for my mailing list, and I will keep you in the loop on everything. If you have any questions or comments about our conversation or anything else, you can reach our conversation today. You can reach me at Carrie, Carrie, at SF, as in San Francisco, sfmoneycoach.com. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
That's good. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
And with that, we're out of time. Thank you again for tuning in, and please acknowledge yourself for taking the time to learn, practice, connect, and receive support around money. I am Carrie Friedberg, the SF Money Coach. You can contact me and find information about my coaching practice, online course, and financial literacy membership site at SF, as in San Francisco, sfmoneycoach.com. Please reach out if you have any questions or comments. I'd love to hear from you. We'll talk soon.